Good afternoon or good evening, depending on where you are viewing from. My name is Acolyte. I'm going to bring you the play by play action tonight. And alongside with me, providing color, we have TDS with us for this next week of Risen action. We have a little bit of a delay right now as we're kind of getting some solo queue shenanigans straightened out. But TDS, how are you feeling tonight?
The best shenanigans that there are, solo queue shenanigans. I was feeling super great because we were going to start the cast with an exciting game, but like you were saying, some unpredictable things ends up happening and out of our control. We're going to go into game two of DD versus, if I'm not wrong, it's not good enough. Yeah, NGE, which means that it's really unlucky that we have to go into the second game, but it some things happen and we just have to go into there.
Yeah, what happens, happens, and we just roll with the punches.
Yep.
Meanwhile, as we're going to be setting up the new Pro Draft link, just a little bit of backstory for you guys. DD, I believe it is Dirty Diet. They are coming into this game 3-0 versus Not Good Enough, who are 2-1, and Not Good Enough giving up game one of the series. So, it could be a one and done right here this evening for Dirty Diet, or we might even see
Yep.
a game three depending on what the teams bring out today.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if they do end up at speed running it because we are going to go for the 2-0 for Dirty Diet. But I was expecting it to be a close series because it's a 3-0 team versus a 2-1 team, so it's not like there's a big enough power disparity between the two of them. So I think there could be a chance that we see an actual 3-game series uh, in asterisk because it's not a real 3-game series, but we could see that from both of these teams. And I'm expecting Dirty Die to obviously bring their A game, but also NGE to bring their A game in this game, in this series.
Definitely. Did a little bit of research before getting into this game, looking at some OPGGs, and didn't see too many in the terms of one tricks. We see a little bit of stylistic differences between the teams and their roles. I did see one team is lacking a dedicated jungler. Now that's not to say
Yep.
they haven't been playing jungle during scrims, during practice, on off accounts and whatnot. So, it's really hard to tell whenever you go into these leagues, but not having a dedicated jungler could sometimes be detrimental to your team. I did see he was a support main according to NA or OP.GG. And, having a support main in the jungle isn't the worst thing in the world because they still have the same kind of abilities. They have the macro knowledge, they have the roaming, they set up the plays in advance. They're
Yeah.
typically the shot callers of the team. So, not going to be too much of a takeaway from this game tonight.
I feel the main difference would have been the three powerhouse junglers that I think the meta has developed that are Diana, Xinjiao, and Viego. But them being the Diana and Xinjiao having been nerfed really recently means that their priority was a little it's now lower than it was previously, and it allows for much more variety in the jungle, which means that autofield players can at least go look into other alternatives that can be really good, like tank junglers that like you were saying, probably serve a similar purpose, like a tank support, like the Nautilus, like the Thresh, like the Leona. So at least in that regard, you can try and play around. And like you're saying, they also need to be facilitated by their team to try and play around the map. So it's not completely different from how they typically play. But there are also some things that as a jungler you know that don't typically know as a support. So there's always opportunity for conflict if you're trying to play off role.
Exactly. And when it comes down to, these ELO games, this ELO is typically in the gold range. It's usually comfort over everything when it comes to, playing in these 5v5 competitive scenarios. I mean,
Yeah.
when you get up to the, challenger and grandmaster and those kind of things, they should be able to play pretty much all champions without breaking a sweat. But here, it kind of comes down to what you're comfortable with. If you don't have to think about your skill shots, your abilities, your cooldowns, you're able to focus much more solely on the macro game and look around the map and improve other areas of your gameplay as well.
Yeah, there's always good things that you can learn from it. There's always good things that you can take from that, and it's going to be useful to say the least. Obviously, you're going to have complications, but there's always good utility from trying to learn that position. And I feel like with in a team environment, it's much easier to try and learn new positions because you get the follow up from your team. It's not like you will get constantly flamed or attacked. So at least you get incentives and a good opportunity to try and learn and move on trying to get better at that particular role.
Exactly. Everyone loves that solo queue flame. I eat it every day for breakfast.
Everyone
Um,
does it.
but it's like you said, having that team environment to kind of help you, work on your deficits, to, not flame you, to empower you, and also being able to look over the games with a lot more of a fine comb. Some of these teams do have coaches that kind of help them through early game, through pathing, through team fights, and it will help make up for the discrepancies and the lack of experience that some team members may have.
Yeah, those things do end up mattering. One of the things is that because both teams do have a good enough game score right now, even though it's 3-0 and 2-1 for these teams, so at least they have leeway to, even if they are not super comfortable still, or they are not in the best positions, they are still able to try and survive the losses because it's not going to affect them that much, and at least they can still try and move on into the next stage, especially trying to secure the buys that I feel like are what most teams try and look forward for this in this particular Premade division.
I know when I learned jungle back in season 2 or 3, whatever, my first jungle camp, I am absolutely trash at jungle. My first champion was Udyr, back when he was, low visual update and didn't have the little gap closer with the stun on bear stance. Do you have very much experience with the jungle role?
I've tried to play it. I'm really bad at jungling. I'm a main mid myself, so I do like much more trying to play around the mid lane. So I've have tried to play it, but jungle is just, and I say it honestly. I think jungle is one of the hardest roles to try and play around because it's not only trying to play correctly, but it's also trying to survive against your teammates trying to flame you for everything that you do.
Yeah, jungle diff, that's pretty much typed in every single game I see. But it's just a different game. It's just a different mentality going into the jungle. You think about your camps, and you have to keep up with experience, but you also think about your ganks. You have to think about where the enemy jungler is, trading objectives,
Yeah.
playing cross map, playing top side versus weak side. I mean, there's so much that goes into it. So I send a lot of respect to all the jungle mains out there watching us at the moment. As we are getting pretty close to finishing up the pro draft. As soon as we get into the match, we'll be able to see the champions a little bit better, and we'll kind of talk about the team comps as we see them on the stream for you guys live.
Yeah. Also, one thing that it's important for you to know as soon as we go in, first ban for DD was Diana. So if you see a red buff, it's okay. It's Diana. So at least that's what the reason why it's there. But yeah, like you're saying, it's going to be. I think like this is a draft that it's pretty much meta with some surprise picks here and there, but a lot of the champions we have seen, even in the higher level, so it makes a lot of sense to see these champions here.
Yeah, and it's not like the jungle champions that we have available to us are super high mechanically intensive. I mean, Xin Zhao, not so bad in terms of that. Viego, I mean, getting the resets off and planning for the resets. Yes, there's that as well. But it's not like
Yeah.
playing the Lee Sin, who, the ward hop, flash kick, all of that needs to be really on point for you to be an effective Lee Sin. I mean, if I see a Lee Sin in my jungle games, in lower elo, I kind of am leaning towards the
I
dodge
don't
because it
expect
takes a
much.
lot. It takes a lot to be a
Yeah.
very good Lee Sin player. If you're old and have arthritis, you aren't going to make those plays.
Well, yeah, that is true. If you have any kind of impairment, certainly it's going to be much harder. I try to look at it this at those kind of picks this way, and it's more so like if they can't play it, I don't expect the enemy to be able to answer it either. So it's not like it's a complete loss.
That is true. That is definitely true, especially if they have a champion that is way too over the top. But on stream, it looks like we're live with the pro draft, and we see pick 5 basically finishing off. So pretty interesting. An Ash first pick coming out of NGE. So playing the utility bot lane with the Seraphine. So the slow from the volley followed up by the root from the Seraphine. Going to be pretty good. Actually, there's a lot of slows on that team that Seraphine can follow up with. So
Yeah.
layering that CC going to be very pivotal to NGE's comp.
I feel like it's a really fundamental 5v5 composition in the sense that yes, you do have the Twisted Fate that can surpass an split pusher, but it's an AD carry with a mage, a support that can build a tank, and a kind of diver that will try and create chaos in the team fight. But pretty much it is your best bet to a basic 5 to 5 front to back composition, which I really like from NG. I think they have really good pieces, particularly the Ash Sheriff in bot lane, because it's against the Jhin Alistar. Yes, the Jhin Alistar do have the possibility to CC someone down, but if you get the Ash and the Seraphine survive the initial combo from those two champions, it's going to be so good. The counter attack that they can mount on top of the Alistar or maybe the Jhin, and they also have a lot of possibilities to win the lane without actually having to do that much. So that will allow for priority for the Olaf to try and get early objectives and even try and put pressure on the Xin Zhao to try and not do anything. On the other side, Didi do have an interesting composition. They have pokers in the Jin and the Zoe to a certain degree, but Kennen, Alistar, and Xin Zhao, both those three champions, are really disjointed from what the Zoe and the Shin and the Jin want to try and achieve. Because yes, Jin does provide long range support as an AD carry, but he wants to try and play really back, far from the rest of the enemy. He wants to get peeled by, and it's not going to be easy with the Xin Zhao Alistar and getting wanting to go way forward.
Yeah, the identity from DD's team does seem a little complicated. I guess I'll kind
Yeah,
of leave it at that. Like you said, with a Zoe looking to poke down, I'd like to see that paired, more like with a Jace or with something else to kind of really live up to that artillery team comp, and then having that Alistar and the Xin Zhao to kind of create space for
yeah.
that. So, not a lot coming out in terms of DPS, so I don't know how they're going to be able to take care of something like the Olaf and the Mundo. I mean, maybe they're just looking for high intensity burst right away, but if they survive the initial burst on the side of NGE, I don't think Dirty Deeds are going to be able to survive these team fights.
Yeah, and I understand the idea of trying to mount an super bursty initial engage from the side of Didi, but I just feel like it's super hard to execute. And if you see the range from Ashe, Seraphine, and Twisted Fate is really huge. Like the distance that they can cover from those three champions, it's really can put a lot of pressure on Didi. And it's going to be really hard for them to try and get on top of NG without actually having to commit something like a flash. Or if they are really ahead early on, they can maybe set up vision so that the Kenyan can try and come from a flank or plays like that. But they are going to try and be as innovative as they can, because it's going to be really hard to reach the backline later on where the game is kind of even and NG doesn't it's not really scared of trying to face DD in a full front 5v5. Also, this game I feel like Twisted Fate particularly, he doesn't need to go for anything for any split push potential build or anything like the rapid fire cannon, because I feel like as long as you have a lot of AP damage, you can be used as poke with the Seraphine and with the Seraphine and the Ash, and with that you can just try and pressure the enemy champions as much as you can, so that when they try to engage you, they are going to be low enough that it's not going to matter that they try to engage.
But we all know from experience that it all comes down to execution. So
Yeah,
if DD are able to get the early game lead, maybe take care of those skirmishes, have the Xin Zhao and Zoe pick off the Olaf early, or catch the TF as he's roaming down somewhere, we may be able to see them take the lead and kind of take off with it. And if they're able to get to the tanks before they pass the point of no return in terms of their defensive stats, I mean, we could see them come out ahead on top. So it is in no means a death sentence for Dirty. I forgot what the rest of the name was.
Dirty Diet.
Dirty Diet. That's right.
Yeah.
It's no means a death sentence for Dirty Diet to come out with a team comp like this. But when it gets to the later stages of the games, if everyone starts reaching their third, fourth, and fifth items, it's just going to be that much more difficult to execute. But it still can be done.
Yeah, for me, Dirty Diet's composition is one that I like to call a pre 25-minute composition, where if you don't win by 25 minutes, you're pretty much doomed. So it's something that you do have to be really careful about how you play, because the amount of errors that you can make with this kind of compositions, it's close to one or two. It's really small the number of mistakes that you can make. On the other side, you have much more leeway. Yes, if you create mistakes against this kind of composition, then it's going to be super hard to try and answer back. But it doesn't matter how many mistakes you make. As long as you get past 30 minutes, you will have enough strength that it's not going to be that hard to try and mount a comeback in comparison to what Dirty Diet has. Yes, the Kennen, it's kind of an outlier because of his ultimate, but Seraphine, it's made against this kind of scenarios where her W will deny so much damage. And if she is able to, and if the Seraphine is able to survive, it's going to be really hard to even be able to kill the backline, the Olaf, or the Mundo, because of the amount of healing that is going to go on. I also want to say that maybe pre 25 it's a little bit of an over exaggeration. I maybe it's pre-30 for this kind of composition because I do think they have tools to be able to answer back. But after 30 minutes, I just see it so hard to be able to win against the Ash Seraphine Twisted Fate, particularly, and the
Yeah,
Moonblade.
just so much in terms of utility and peeling for their backline Twisted Fate cards. We have the Ash Volley, Ash Arrow, Seraphine following up with the ulti. They just have so much in terms of peel.
Yeah.
So, Kennen getting in, they have to find very good flanks in order to get in and get that AoE CC for their team to burst down the carries and then to follow up and survive the tanks who are going to be diving the backlines inevitably.
Yeah, if I feel like if Dirty Diet wants to win, they're going to have to depend more so on the Alistar than on the Kennen. Because I feel Kennen has to play as a secondary engage to try and get much more value out of the Maelstrom. But Alistar, if he's able to find one huge knockup or one huge combo onto the Seraphine or the Ash, the setup for the Kennen will be much more easy to achieve because that way you can chain the CC and they cannot escape. So I feel like it's going to go to be on the back of Alistar more so than on the Kennen.
Well said, TDS. And, it all kind of depends on vision, too. To get the flanks, you
Yeah.
need to have impeccable vision. And if you can play around your vision, you're going to be doing very well for your team. And speaking of vision, we're going to take you guys to a quick break and we're going to load into the Rift in a little bit. Stick around for some League of Legends action. We will see you on the Rift. Mm, 12. Are we good?
Yep.
13, 14. 15. Okay, cool. All right, tell us when we're live. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to game 2 of the series of Not Good Enough, coming into this game with a 2-1 record against Dirty Diets. And we are live on the Rift right now. Like we said, game 2, due to a technical difficulty, game 1 was a forfeit over to the side of Dirty Diet, I believe. So they are winning
Yeah.
this series 1-0. And going on to the Rift, they look like they're just going to do a 5-point, so no kind of crazy invade happening here.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of trying to chase their way to level ones. It sounds kind of bad, but I do think that trying to use a strategy early on to try and get an advantage is always something really valuable. But this is something that most teams do try and do much more. That is just set the line in between the rift, stare at each other as badly as you can, and just get a little bit of vision. Sometimes you do get deep vision, but this time it's just vision to cover so that the Xinjiao cannot invade and you can have enough protection. And it's a setup in the bottom lane Tribush to try and get something, but it's already warded. And luckily.
Yeah, so we'll see if Olaf decides to path down that way for the cheese. We also see the ward was down for Olaf, so he puts down the early ward and went back, did not switch it out for a sweeper. Actually, that may have been an early ward from Seraphine. So we might see a little bit of an explosion, level 1 for the bot lane.
If Olaf came from down with the other two, then maybe they can pull it up. But it seems like they don't want none of the bot lane wants to fight this. They just want to get to the wave and farm as soon as they can. Olaf the same. He's going to go for a full clear. It seems because he's going for the Crocs. Would that take longer to kill than the birds, which means that he's going to try and get a full clear. It's going to be a good good pace thing to try and set up yourselves to be as far ahead as you can from the Xinjiao, but it's going to take you away from being able to impact the lanes really early on. And if the Xinjiao does or is able to go into the lanes and impact them as much as he can, oh, Alistar.
Alistar goes in with the head part, Bobo's combo. We see the follow-up with the Jin W and big damage on the Dream Release, but a return of damage back onto Red Tasket. And Dream Release does not have the crit yet enough to put down the slow. So very good trade from both teams at the very beginning. No summoners exchanged just yet.
Yeah, and really importantly, if the Ashe was level 2, maybe they can get much more because she could have stacked the body in the Q to try and get much more damage. Typically, Ashe just goes for the bird, but it's a possibility to try and go for with the stack and get much more damage. They could have even blown a summoner from the Alistar, but this is what I was talking about. Yes, the Alistar gets the level 2 first and he can go for the combo, but the follow-up engage is not enough, or the follow-up damage is not enough, and he cannot achieve much, which means that the counter attack from the Ashe Seraphine is much better. And here comes Shin.
Yeah, Xin Zhao is on the way. He does have double buffs, but both
Very
summoners are
nice.
up. Lands the W, and it's a
Oh, the
follow-up.
stun.
Jin
Ashe
with
is
the
dead.
root, and then the flash pulverized combo is going to lock up the Ashe. First blood goes over to Xin Zhao.
Yeah, and their Big Chill did really well with the Wind Becomes Lightning, getting the hit on the Ashe, but crucially, the washed up ADC gets the double UCC, and that's the most important part, because with that, you set up for the flash of the Alistar to come through and get much more damage. If they don't get that stun, then the Ashe can just try and run away with the flash, and she survives. But that setup there with the amount of CC that they had was really well done, and all that is a combination from what happened previously, because they had the wave pushed up much higher, and that meant that they had to try and push it as far as the turret to try and not get ganked. But because they didn't have any vision, if you see, there's a ward on one of the bushes at the bottom lane, and they also committed one ward on the Tribush. They didn't have any vision to expect the Xinjiao gank, which made it much more easy for the Xinjiao to come here.
They only had that little bit of vision that they put down onto the top side of mid early on. So they had no idea where Xin Zhao was, couldn't get the early game pathing. I mean, they did see that Jin, Xin Zhao and Jin, that's going to be hard for me for a little bit. But the Alistar and the Jin were waiting in the tri-bush, so they knew that Xin Zhao wasn't on the blue buff, or at least wasn't getting a leash on the blue buff, so they might have been able to anticipate the pathing from Xin Zhao if they took that into account. But overall, very good play from, I keep forgetting which side they're on, but from Big Chill to take that Xin Zhao pathing.
B-Hub?
But, oh yeah, Bob is in a bad spot. He's forced to flash right away. Red Tastic goes over the side, uses the flash, but misses the pulverize, and Bob is going to keep answering back. Yeah, Zoe is there, so this is a 4 versus 1 at the moment. Just one auto attack from Red Tastic needs to land to get the stun. No bubble, it's too far away, but here comes Big Chill trying to get the knockup as well, and he gets his second kill of the game. Big Chill not chilling at all as he gets his second game and going to send his team onto a pretty good early game lead.
Yeah, really well done, and it's a collapse from the entire team. They, if you see also because of that, the bottom lane is in such a bad position from the Jhin. There's already a CS difference because of that, but it's really important that they get disadvantages. And I feel like sacking the Jhin lane to a certain degree, it's good enough because now you can get much more value elsewhere. Like the Kennen gets a flash blown on the Mundo as well as an assist. The Alistar now has two assists, and like you're saying, the Xin Zhao now is really strong. Right now, in a 1v1, he can win against the Olaf if he's not careful enough.
Yeah, and then they're not going to lose too much in terms of the XP at the bottom lane because it was slow pushing back into the Jin. So, Red Tastic not losing too terribly much on that roam. And like you said, risk versus reward, that was a lot of reward for very little risk.
Yeah, and that's also the thing. The risk versus reward, you have to think it also in the sense of what the composition does benefit much more. We were talking about this in draft, how the composition from Dirty Diet needed to snowball early on to try and be in a really good spot come mid game. And this is something that they needed to achieve. That's why the risk had to be way bigger than the reward. But if they do get a good reward out of that from continuous risk, then they are going to be in a much better position come mid game, which is the ideal thing that you want.
And just keeping track of the levels right now, Twisted Fate did just hit the level 6, so we'll see if he's going to make use of that
Oh,
ultimate. But
never mind.
Zinjao is looking big chill, lands the W and
Oh
gets the
no!
follow-up, going to get the knockup too. Zoe ults forward but does not get the Sleepy Trouble bubble. So Email Man forced to use that flash a little bit early, but still has that ultimate online.
Yeah, it's going to be the ultimate, trying to use the ultimate aggressively as the Twisted Fate. Zoe does have teleport, so maybe she can impact the map as well against the Twisted Fate. But I think if the Twisted Fate doesn't pull out the red card there instead of yellow, maybe he can survive the gank there. And luckily he didn't die, but it's another flash blown, another successful gank by Big Shield to try and get much more advantage. And if Mailman ever gets hit by a bubble, it could be just dead for him. But this is a really good play by NGE to answer the Drake because of the push that they had on bottom lane, the push that they had on mid lane, and the vision control that they have on this spot side. They can safely secure this first Drake, and it's going to be good for them because trying to make the game as long as they can, it's going to be a really important win condition for them. So slowing the soul as much as they can, it's going to be really important.
That is true. Dirty Diet, if they were able to start the dragon stacking, having any advantage that you can to force your team to fight when they don't want to fight, that's how you continue to snowball your lead. So getting that first dragon, very pivotal for not good enough to make sure that they avoid the dragon stacking problem that could come up in the future.
Yeah, the only big problem, oh, unreliable guy,
Yeah,
he's
he
equal
finds
level to the
Redtastic right
Alistar.
there. We don't have level 6 anywhere, but there comes the root from the Seraphine. They're
I
going to
don't know
follow
about
up.
this.
Flash is forced out of Redtastic. I don't know why guy does get the dodge, but here comes Big Chill on the way. Looks like it's going to be a 3 versus 3. Big Chill not going to get there fast enough. And everyone escapes with their life. I don't think I saw too much in the way of summoner spells. Yeah, no summoner spells used except for Redtastic, I believe. He had to blow his flash.
Yeah, he committed flash one day. I'm surprised with both youngers being same level as the supports. It's kind of funny, especially knowing that Retastic kind of roamed around, so he should be lower level. Well, he's lower level than Jim, but oh, bubble.
Lands the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, and here comes the Alistar. Gets the headbutt, but can't get the
Alistar
Pulverize because
losing
he
a
get locked
flash.
up by the yellow card. And no
Oh, he
flash, no
survived.
ultimate either. And Legs Dream, or LGZ Dreams, does get the kill. Bop did teleport in, but now he's playing Ring Around the Rosie around the map, and he's not going to pick up the kill onto Redtastic. Meanwhile, Red Chill, or Big Chill, is on the way for this 2v2 if he wants to fight it. I think this is just going to be a Scuttle Crab over to not good enough, but Dirty Diet gets their third kill of the game.
Yeah, and it's another really good kill. The bubble hit onto the Twisted Fate. We were talking about this. As soon as the bubble hits, it's going to be really doomed for the Twisted Fate. If someone else was there, which this time around the Alistar was, the kill was much more easy to achieve, and they are able to put the pressure there. And luckily, Alistar also survives. He didn't die either, so it's a huge win for Dirty Diet. They need to try and put a little bit more pressure, I feel like, with Kennen's ultimate because he has been level 6 for, I think, a minute and a half, and they haven't tried and utilize the cannon much more aggressively, which I think would be much more ideal, especially try to go into the bot lane for a bot lane play with the cannon.
And something else I want to highlight about that play too is we saw Redtastic go in with the headbutt and he ended up getting stunned under the tower. I
Yeah.
thought that was going to be just a great play from Twisted Fate. I was hoping he could make the great escape, but just ended up falling to that paddle star. LGZ Dreams just so punishing with that Zoe with that long range, able to get on top of him and lock up that kill. And now we see multiple threats coming out of the side of Dirty Diet with the Zoe poke, with
Oh,
the
you mean
Xin
Lon?
Zhao. And then we also see the Hex Flash over the wall. There comes the Paddle Star, lands the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. He is asleep, and
Oh,
there goes
really well
the
done.
Ignite, and he falls. So second kill of the game for Zoe. Ghost is popped from the Olaf. He's running forward, but Big Chill waiting around the corner, and Dirty Diet picks up their fourth kill of the game.
Red Tastic has been a secondary jungle in reality because he has been everywhere in the map. After the first play on the bottom lane, I don't think he has been longer than 30 seconds down there. He has been moving around, roaming around, utilizing his Hex Flash aggressively, and I really like that style of playing bad Red Tastic. And even though the bot lane has been abandoned to a certain degree, the watchtower AD carry is in a really comfortable position. If you see, it's just 5 CS behind, and there's a huge wave that is coming down now. Big Chill here in the bot lane trying to get something. I don't know if they will be able to achieve anything, but everyone level higher than level 6 now.
Yeah, wasn't spotted on the ward just yet, so being very patient with this. And all it takes is one little bit of CC to land for them to get this chain. They are freezing the lane. Good job from not good enough to spot this out or sniff out this gank, but Big Chill just being very patient, uses the oracles, knows that no one's around, and here's an unreliable guy, so this may just be unfortunate timing if anything comes out. Red Tastic gonna face check the bush. Big Chill wasn't there to back him up, and unreliable guy just gets the ward. Very close call right there from the bottom lane. I mean, I was expecting something to pop off, but they're showing very good discipline from both of the teams.
Yeah, it's really important to not overstay. Like from the side of NG, they don't need to overcommit anything. As long as they survive, they are in a good spot. Oh, Twisted Fate ultimate on the Zoe.
Yeah, Zoe does get caught
Oh,
out
I
with the gold
think.
card, and here comes Olaf from behind, an unreliable guy trying to play backup, but here comes the teleport, and Kennen going to use the slicing maelstrom to lock up two people. Huge damage from him as Zoe goes forward, gets the sleepy trouble bubble. Big Chill going to take that for himself. Actually, it does go over to the Zoe, and that's the 6th unanswered kill as we see a 2,000 gold lead on the side of Dirty Diet, and they're going to pick up their first dragon of the game.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't think it's yet that massive for Dirty Diet, but it's certainly really important that they have been able to keep on getting these advantages, and we finally see the top lane. Because the teleport from the Mundo was utilized previously, when the Twisted Fate died, oh wait, sorry.
And we
Oh, the
see
bubble.
Zoe looking for the CB Trouble Bubble. It splits the difference. It goes through the middle. Red Tasket flashes forward, forces the flash out of Dream Release. Does not use
Oh
the
no,
arrows soon enough,
Retastic.
but does get him outside of the turret. And Dream Release picking up the first kill of the game for not good enough.
Yeah, and Retastic doesn't commit the ultimate there to try and survive. Really nice answer by Dream Release. And I thought I thought as soon as the flash from the Alistar came that maybe they were going to try and look up the Ashe. No follow-up was there, so maybe the distance was not enough to try and pull off the combo from the Alistar. And luckily Dream Release is able to run away and they get the first kill. So at least they are able to answer to in a certain way. They are able to slow the gold lead because now it's just 1k once again. And even though they get the Drake, it's just the first Drake. It's not the worst situation from NGE. They're still in a position that they can come back. And I've just been looking at this, but the Mundo has been able to harass the Kennen so much. It's 4 plates down on the top lane, and the Mundo is so ahead in CS as well.
And the Mundo does have the teleport advantage as well, so they do have that in their back pocket if they want to make a play around the map globally. Not too much in the terms of objectives. Rift Herald is up, but that's in the top lane anyways. So they're not going to make use of this in terms of a role swap. Plate's going to expire right now too, so no use of the Rift Herald to get these early plates. And that's something that we see a lot in the pro play,
Yeah.
is just huge emphasis on that first Rift Herald to get the first 2 plates that are pretty free and to set up the early map control and the early lane pressure. But the teams are playing it pretty slow. They're not going to fight over that neutral objective. And we're just back to square one. Twisted Fate Ultimate going to be up pretty soon. Ash Arrow will be up pretty soon as well. I could see a bot lane gank in the future. But the team's Zinjao is going to collect his buffs for right now, and the team's going to continue farming.
Yeah, LGC Dream C does have the teleport to try and answer the Twisted Fate to a certain degree, so there's always that chance. But like you're saying, the possibility of a bot lane play is really high, so we could see that in the future. I really hope that Dirty Diet will try and go for the Herald because I feel like their composition needs to accelerate as hard as they can. But if you look closely at the turrets, none have taken really a lot of damage. Like there's no turret from the side of NGE that has actually taken that much damage, which means that putting the Herald down wouldn't have achieved that much apart from just 2 plates of gold.
And something we can mention here, Bop, we said earlier in the stream, as Big Chill is on his way to the
Oh,
top lane, he finds the
oh,
Mundo,
he missed.
doesn't land the W, but he's going to go in anyways. He does have the red buff slow. Is he going to get the knockup? Not quite yet, as top gap Sag is falling up, doesn't get the stun, forces the ultimate off of the Mundo. So Mundo able to survive without blowing any summoners.
Yeah, he doesn't have to blow the summoners, but that's a chance for later on gank if they can do it before the ultimate is back up. Because I feel like even more so than the flash, it's the possibility to escape with the ultimate or
Ooh,
ulti.
bot lane. They land the arrow. The Seraphine ultimate follows up, and Redtastic uses the ultimate. Is he going to be able to survive? The true damage should be coming out from the Olaf as he picks up his first kill. And meanwhile, on the mid lane, Big Chill picked up a kill for himself as Zoe probably set it up with the Sleepy Trouble bubble. So 1-for-1 across the map in different lanes.
Yeah, it's not a complete loss for Dirty Diet, but they end up trading kills. Oh wait, Big Chill.
Big Chill's on the way. Unreliable guy uses the Ghost to get there soon and close the gap. Dreamingly's trying to kite as best he can. The ultimate used from the Xin Zhao. He's not going to be able to take any damage. Yes, we see Kennen TP in, and here comes Bop in the middle of all of them. Remember, he does not have an ultimate, and Lake Dreams goes forward. The fourth shot from Jin is not going to be able to split the uprights as Mundo tanks it for him. Here comes Twisted Fate, uses the ultimate, following up. The Jin is slowed. The flash forward, the briefcase, not going to take him down. Jin is going to limp away. Redtastic goes forward, misses the headbutt pulverized combo, and no one dies, surprisingly, from this bot lane skirmish.
Yeah, after the kills went down in mid lane and in bottom lane, they tried to answer back with another play from Big Chill, but nobody dies, like you're saying. And I was wrong. I thought the Kennen had teleport back up, but it was in fact the Zoe that was teleporting in to try and protect. Kennen was just backing, but with that at least he's now able to push the top wave. Nobody dies, but this is still a huge chance for Dirty Die to try and impulse their gold lead right now, because if they take down this turret, it's going to be much more gold influx into the Kennen, and he will have teleport for any continuation plays for the dragon that is spawning in 30 seconds. Red Tusk needs to be careful.
Yeah, Redtastic maybe getting a little too confident to put that ward down. But in the meantime, it looks like Kennen isn't going to rotate at all. Does have that teleport available, and Mundo just sticking around. So going to lose a lot in terms of global pressure. First tower at about 17 minutes is probably going to go to Kennen. Actually, Twisted Fate, the Unsealed Spellbook, heads up. Does have the ultimate available too. So it's not a true global, but he is able to put the pressure down onto the Kennen. So Sleepy Trouble Bubble misses from the Zoe. We see
Chill.
Big Chill goes in a little deep, and here comes Seraphine, lands. Big thing, the lock up onto the Xin Zhao gets him shut down. Unreliable guy sets forward onto Redtastic, who is the ultimate, and the wash up ADC is just limping away, but gets chased down from the Ashen ADC, and Bop is there smacking away. Mundo goes where he pleases, lands briefcase after briefcase. Unreliable guy misses the axe, and Bop is just going to go into the tower. He does not care at all. Does not land the suitcase, and there goes the Zanya's. LG Dreams with a good outplay. Mundo bites off a little bit more than he can chew, but here comes Twisted Fate. Almost lands it over the wall, not quite in range to make that happen. So not good enough, able to answer back some kills, pick up their second dragon of the game, and Dirty Diet looking a little vulnerable. The snowball looks like it's starting to melt.
This is a gigantic win for for NG, because they really don't need it to force a fight or even get this rake. Like in reality, this is nothing that they actually need to commit for. Oh wait, an unreliable guy.
Yeah, stayed a little bit too far. Unreliable guy is going to get locked up. Seraphine does land a root onto two, but Redtastic follows up with the headbutt pulverized. Email Man barely gets away from the wind slash from the Xin Zhao, or wind becomes lightning, excuse me. And so trading a kill for the dragon, not the worst play in the world. Redtastic just going full solo mission behind enemy lines, stops Email Man from the back. So keeping the tempo up for Dirty Diet. Xin Zhao looking to invade and take away the Krugs. Zoe going to put down some pressure onto the mid lane tower. And this is where the game is going to start opening up. When as soon as these towers start falling, we're going to see a lot more in terms of invades. We're going to see a lot more in terms of vision. And that's when the game is really going to explode.
Yeah, the thing is that fight was a huge victory for NG. It's not only the kills that they got, it's not only the Drake, but they also were able to open the map first. They took down the first turret. So if you see the gold difference, it's really, really little in comparison to what it could have been. It's just 1,000 gold right now. And oh wait, Seraphine,
Redtastic finds the Twisted Fate, or sorry,
Oh,
finds the Seraphine, but the Sleepy Trouble doesn't land. But here comes Big Chill,
dead.
and Seraphine just gets knocked up, rooted, airborne, and can't make anything happen as Big Chill picks up his third kill of the game and a very successful invade. Just the aggressive vision, and that's what we need to see out of Dirty Diet if
Yeah.
they want to keep this game going. They need to stay aggressive. They need to put down. Look at these offensive wards on the bottom side of the map. 4 wards in the enemy jungle, and that's how they're able to pick up that kill.
Yeah, committing for an actual fight, it's probably going to be much worse for them if they are not able to actually get a really good cannon ultimate or a really nice engage from Redtastic. So they need to be, like you're saying, much more aggressive with how they place vision and how they try and go into the jungle. With the top lane turret down, maybe they can try and put much more pressure there. But ideally, I don't think the side of 30 Diet wants to go top lane, but more so into the bottom lane jungle. Oh, wait, Behab. He
Yeah,
just pauses
Behab
ultimate and
does.
runs away.
Yeah, exactly. Uses the ultimate, able to get out. So still a pretty big cooldown. Does make him a lot more vulnerable for the follow-up fight if that's going to happen. We'll have the ultimate up by the next dragon as well, and still a little too early for the Baron, so I don't think it's going to be that much of a loss just using that ultimate to get out.
Yeah, the thing is, I think the next dragon is the second dragon for Dirty Diet, and the third for the side. Oh wait, big chill here.
And lands the wing, and look at Top Gap Sag. He's just waiting. Does not have the flash available. It does have the rocket belt. So looking for that gap close. A little bit less of a surprise not having that flash. I mean, flash on Kennen is just so pivotal to reposition that Slicey Maelstrom.
Yeah, it's going to be really important, and that's going to be one of the main ways that they can actually try and win fights. Ooh, a Sleepy Trouble Bubble here.
As Zoe finds the Twisted Fate, is able to put down some significant damage, and the rest of the team just waiting like a pack of hungry wolves for them to overstep that tower. May not be long for this world. We see Kennen looking for the flank on the bottom side, and Redtastic was looking for it on the top side as well. Zoe just fishing again and again and again with these Sleepy Trouble bubbles, and we're going to see a little bit of ARAM action. Kennen goes bot side to clear the wave and collect the farm, but yeah, just more ARAM.
Yeah, not much answer. Oh wait, Behab.
Behab a little bit too far forward. Redtastic follows up. Big Chill wasn't going to follow up with that. Sleepy Trouble Bubble does land, and here comes the Olaf going forward. Seraphine with a long-range ultimate through the Olaf. Unstoppable as the Olaf as he goes forward, takes down Redtastic. It's a 1v1 so far. Big Chill needs to flash out, and Jin not going to be able to follow up. Kennen looking for the flank, just waiting from the bottom side, is not on a ward, and Dreams is able to put down some damage onto the Seraphine, but so far a 1-for-1 support for jungle, and Dragon's going to be spawning in a minute, so fighting over this bot lane vision going to be very huge in the next coming minutes.
Yeah, obviously it's much more ideal to get the trading for the jungle instead of the support, but it's a nice answer from the side of NG because that fight could have been way, way worse for them. The instantaneous engage onto the Mundo, but he's too tanky right now, and they also have a lot of heals from the Seraphine, which means that it's going to be hard to try and fight against the Mundo. Luckily, neither of the members that died are going to miss this dragon fight because the Drake is up in 42 seconds. I think we're going to see a big fight there, and it's going to be interesting to see this. Oh wait, remember this?
Yeah, Kennen was able to get out of the Dr. Mundo from the bot lane. Does have teleport available, but no flanking wards up yet for him to get there. Flash is available for the Flash Slicing Maelstrom. In terms of summoner spells, I mean, Big Chill doesn't have the flash available, so the follow-up damage from Xin Zhao, once he goes in, he needs to commit very hard. And this is a pretty big dragon, too. If not good enough lands this dragon, they put themselves on soul points. But it's just going to be a dragon dance for right now. Zoe trying to get some early pop, and Behop falls asleep. And here comes the follow-up route from the Jin. Uses the ultimate, and he's just going to be torn apart. He's trying to survive, but Redtastic ends up getting the kill. And Twisted Fate just going to give this over and move towards the top side. So not good enough. Not looking like they're going to give this dragon up super easily. They're still kind of waiting around. I'd like to see them kind of move into other objectives. Seraphine almost gets it over the wall. Sleepy Trouble Bubble not going to land as they just disengage. And Email Man goes top lane to collect that juicy, juicy farm.
Yeah, I don't think there was a realistic way for the side of NG to be able to fight that dragon, especially with the Mundo down. If you saw the Mundo kill didn't take any important ultimate down, so it's not like you're going to lose that much. And wow, Dirty died trying to go for the Baron here. Yeah, they get the Drake, but Mundo is up now. He has teleport, he can answer, and he also has a second item. And this Baron isn't that fast.
That is a pretty slow Baron in terms of it. I mean, whenever you have a Jin on your team, it's going to be very slow. And Zoe needs to be able to dance around And so they're stuck into the Baron pit. We see Red
The
Tastic goes
Kennen.
forward, but is very low. Kennen not going to be able to get into the back line, but the fight is split up, and it's 4-on-1 on both sides of the map. Jin using the curtain call to put something down, but Dreamingly is able
Oh,
to take down
nobody
a kill
blocked.
for himself, and Bhop just tanking everything up. Gale forced to get away from the Jin, but Bhop flashes forward on top of him, and he's going to chase down the carries, takes down the
Mundo
Zoe,
doesn't
moving
care.
forward onto Jin as well. And 4 members of Dirty Diet end up falling. They bite off a little bit more than they can chew, and the dirtiest of Diet, seeing them give up a massive advantage. I don't know. How do you feel about that Baron call? A little too greedy?
I think that maybe they feel like they need to go for that because they are feeling the game slipping away already. Like, yes, they got a really good pick, but it was more so the Mundo inting away a kill than they being able to achieve it by intelligent play or just them being good enough. So I feel like they felt the need to go for that when they saw the Mundo there, but it's not like the Mundo doesn't have teleport. It's not like you have enough items to be able to burst down Baron, because like you're saying, the Jin isn't the best Baron taker, nor the Zoe, nor the Xinjiao, nor the Kennen. So it's not like you have realistic good Baron takers in that team unless you have a lot of items and therefore doesn't matter anymore. So I feel like they need it. They felt they need to go for it, but it was so hard to actually achieve. And the answer from the side of NG was really good. Even though the Seraphine was really far away, she was still able to support the fight. And if there were a couple more items for the side of NG, they probably win that much more handily. So I'm beginning to get scared for the side of Dirty Died. I think they need to slow down a little bit, not in the sense of the game, but slow down and think better what they want to try and achieve. Because it's not just ramming your heads into a wall that it's going to win you this game. Okay,
Yeah,
big
Big
shield.
Chill looks for Bhop, is able to follow up. We see the forward movement from Dreams does not land. I don't think it was the Everfrost. It was the Everfrost, so he doesn't land the Everfrost. But I believe they do bait the ultimate out of Bhop. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, they're looking at the Baron, just giving him the eye, though. Are going to get spotted out by the keep reading it, Scrying Orb. Excuse me on that one. A little bit of a brain delay. But Big Joe going to push.
Oh,
We see the Enchanted Crystal Arrow lands onto the Xin Zhao, and he gets stunned for pretty much ever. And here comes the melees on top of him. Big Chill is big dead as Dream Release picks up the kill for himself. Zoe onto the side of the fight. This is where she wants to be to get this poke damage. Looking for the Sleepy Trouble bubble, just barely misses, just pixels away from an important carry. 5 versus 4. And this team isn't too fast of a Baron taker as well. I mean, Ashe opted for the Immortal Shield Bow, doesn't have the Kraken Slayer. So they might be able to take it very far on their own. And here comes a little bit of a dance. Dreams goes forward, does not land the Everfrost. Red Tastic is just waiting. He's caught off in a pretty bad spot.
flash first.
Yeah, forces
Oh,
the flash
Zoe doesn't
from
have
Red
flash
Tastic.
either.
They're moving forward. And Olaf splitting his targets. Red Tastic pops the ultimate, and Olaf just keeps going forward. And Bhop, as Mundo, goes where he pleases, but he's getting away. Here comes Kennen, gets the slicing Maelstrom, goes forward onto Emo Man, who uses the Zhonya's, and he's able to stay alive. Top Gas Sage uses the Zhonya's for himself. He's going to be able to stay alive as well, but is eventually going to fall to the damage. Bhop gets away from the force shot, and Jin not able to make anything happen, uses the cleanse to get himself away. Dreams using the Paddle Star from downtown, not able to get the damage. And this Seraphine is just doing so much work in terms of utility and heals for her team.
Yeah, the value of the Seraphine is 20 times the value of the Alistar right now, and that is because the composition allows for the Seraphine to be much more useful than the Alistar. Alistar does want to try and go in, but oh wait, Dreams. He has a flash?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does have the flash from the
Shield.
W. Yeah, Big Shield gets on top of the Ashe, but he's going to eat all the damage from being inside. And here comes the ultimate from the Seraphine, who is there. Big Shield goes forward, gets a shutdown on the Seraphine, ends up trading 1-for-1. Washed up ADC, uses Gale Force to get away, and Dreams is able to use the Everfrost to keep himself alive. Moves forward, does not quite get the damage onto the Ashe. Uses the Sleepy Trouble Bubble, not going to land on anyone. And Mundo's locked up, headbutt, pulverize. Paddle Star from downtown, but just no damage is coming out, and Red Tastic with no ultimate is going to fall to the volley. 4 shot from Jin, not going to be able to do too much. Dream Release gets hit by the Paddle Star and is weakened down pretty low. Follow-up damage from the Jin. And this team fight is just going in and out, just teetering on a knife's edge. As a 2-for-2 overall, looks like Seraphine and Bhop fall as in exchange for Big Chill and Red Tastic. And Dragon is up. This is 3rd Dragon of the game for either team, and it looks like not good enough takes their first gold lead of the game.
Yeah, the Drake was down, was 2 minutes away from spawning when the teamfight started. That's how long the teamfight was, because the Drake is now up, and they're going to be able to secure this. it was a really long and interesting team fight, but we saw the value there from the surfing. Yes, she ends up dying, but she made the Olaf, the Mundo, and the Twisted Fate and the Ash survive for so long that it didn't matter that the surfing ends up dying because you still get so much value out of her. And that team fight, it was a little bit before that what I estimated, but 30 minutes now, those fights are going to go much more in favor of the side of NGE. And if they are able to secure the Ocean Soul, the amount of healing that they will have, it's not going to be laughing matter. And there's just one two healing reduction items on the side of 30 died, the Bramble Beast.
Yeah, and that really only works if you're the one that's getting hit. So as long as Bhab doesn't hit those people with the Bramble Vest, he's going to continue healing. So he just has to play good on terms of his target selection, and he's going to be fine.
Yeah, and also one thing that I don't think I mentioned or we mentioned when we saw this drop was the fact that there's no real tank killers. Oh wait, Ash.
Yeah, Ash gets hit by the Sleepy Trouble Bubble. Follow-up W from the Jhin. Email Man steps forward and gets the root. But looks like no team fight really going to happen here. And Dream Release playing with fire right now, going for that fruit. And Unreliable Guy tanks the damage for the Seraphine. Seraphine says, thank you very much. I appreciate the safety. I wish I had a Viking as my bodyguard as well.
He should be really strong to be a bodyguard.
Look at this. Dream's just putting down the damage over the wall, just kind of playing with his food. Redtastic is on a ward, so gets spotted. Seraphine gonna kind of rat herself out with the ward, putting down a little bit of poke damage. I feel like that really wasn't worth it.
What will they try to do now? The problem is that the game has now kind of stagnated to a point where neither team kind of wants to force things, but this is just super favorable for the side of NGE. They have the better scaling. They have much better champions for later stages of the game, and they really don't need to worry about not being able to achieve vision because they also have Ash arrows. So it's not like they won't have vision for important moments. So they're in a really comfortable position. It's 30 Died that needs to try and play something, and Big Chill, it's stunned.
Yeah, he gets locked up by the gold card, forced to use that ultimate very early. Uses the Gourd Drinker, not going to keep himself alive, and instead of escaping over to the Grump, he goes into the Seraphine, does force the flash out of Voids, but the fourth shot, or the second shot, I believe, from Washed Up ADC ends up returning the kill onto Email Man. So far, a 1-for-1, and the poke is still alive with the Zoe Jhin. I mean, Sleepy Trouble Bubble followed up by the Deadly Flourish. That's going to be a lot of CC.
Yeah, and that is what's keeping this game alive for the side of 30 Die. The fact that the Zoe and the Jhin are strong enough that they can try and pressure the backline. Because if not, this game wouldn't be this close. Oh,
Elbow Guy goes forward, does have ultimate available. Huge ultimate from Seraphine as Olaf goes onto the backline and looking to take down the Zoe. Uses the ult to get away and then comes right back, and finally the volley takes him down. It takes enough skill shots. Slicing Maelstrom on the backline, going to take down Dream Release as the Washed Up ADC goes dominated onto the Seraphine. Bhab is here, but he's 1v3. Are they going to be able to kite it out? Jhin gets the Deadly Force and is able to get away. Does not have the Gale Force available, and Mundo just running over everyone. Takes down one, takes down two. Here comes Email Man with the ultimate. He is able to follow up, and Bhab sees top gap go golden. No emote there as TF gets the kill with the wild cards, and the extended team fight goes in the way of not good enough.
Yeah, it's once again not good enough, being able to take those team fights much more favorably, and it feels like the side of Dirty Died can actually pull it off when we see those fights. Maybe they are able to pull it up, maybe they are able to kill, but as soon as the true tank gets there, the Mundo gets there, the Jhin can never kill him. He went 1v3. The Jhin does burst damage, yes, but he doesn't deal consistent enough damage that it's going to be able to kill the Mundo. Maybe with 6 items, he's going to be able to pressure the Mundo a little bit, but the ones that need to kill the Mundo, or they need to be able to kill the backline before they go commit for the Mundo. And that's something that I feel like it's really hard because Kennen arrived later on and he almost couldn't kill the Ashe. With everything that he threw, he almost couldn't kill the Ashe. So I'm really scared for that in future fights. But there's still a chance for they die. They can pull it off if they are able to win this Drake and kill the backline in this fight. They can pull it off. But oh wait, Redtastic.
Yeah, not catching Redtastic. Here's the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Redtastic does have ultimate available. Is he going to use it? He's going to save the ultimate, and that's got to be Soul. It has to be Dragon Soul right here. There's no poke. I mean, there's no hard engage available unless Kennen gets a very good flanking ultimate. Big Chill is spotted out. He's spotted out by Bhab. Email Man lands the gold card onto the Zoe. Here's the curtain call from the Jin, used a little bit early to start this fight. Zoe does get the Sleepy Trouble Bubble onto TF. The cleanse comes away, or was that a QSS? That is a cleanse. And Emo Man trying to spread it out, but here comes
Yeah,
Top Gap. He goes in with Slicey Maelstrom, tries to steal
and
it
the
for
Jin is dead.
himself, but he takes it down. And here's the follow-up. Huge ultimate from the Seraphine, and not good enough. Rolls over this fight. They have a 3,000 gold lead. They're going to set their eyes on the Baron. We see B-Hop on the bottom of the map. He's going to be able to continue the split push, and I don't think Alistar is going to be able to get this steal. And this game just got blown
Well,
wide open, and Dirty Diet is dirty in their graves.
we have seen it, so I won't take it away. I have seen we have seen the Alistar stealing the Baron in a pro game, nonetheless. So it can happen, but I wouldn't expect. Even if they get the Baron stolen, I don't think it will matter. Now with this, because I think the Ocean Soul is much more important, because the only thing that was keeping Dirty Diet on this game was the Jin and the Zoe being able to poke from a safe distance and deal a lot of damage. But the Ocean Soul now negates that, apart from the Seraphine and the innate healing that some champions have. Now the extra healing from the Ocean Soul will negate a lot of the poke damage that will come through, which means that there's no realistic way of actually winning fights unless you instantaneously explode champions. So it's going to depend fully and wholeheartedly on the Kennen and the Zoe or Jin being able to explode someone before they are actually able to do anything. And I don't think even if they do that, they can win fight. It's going to be really hard. Oh,
Uh,
Redtastic.
Bhip finds the Alistar. Redtastic able to get away with the headbutt. And all they have to do really is just to make sure they ward their flanks. Stop the poke coming from the Zoe on the side. Look at that. Email Man goes to sleep with the Sleepy Trouble Bubble and is pretty low. Not going to be long before the Ocean Soul heals him all the way back up. And they're just going to keep this 1-3-1 going with their Baron buff.
Interesting 1-3-1. It's Olaf on the top side and Twisted Fate on the mid lane with the Ashe. It's interesting. Oh, big chill.
Yeah,
Wait, on the top lane.
typically like to see it the other way, but we see Olaf forced to use the
Olaf?
ultimate, use the Ragnarok to get away. Red Tastic used the ultimate himself and had the combo. Kennen still has Icy Maelstrom available. So, Unreliable Guy, I agree with you in terms of the lane assignments. I feel like they're a little all over the place. B-Hop just taking every single bit of damage and poke that is thrown his way. Red Tastic following up with the Kennen onto the Olaf, who is almost full HP already.
Yeah, the
And
problem with
go ahead. I was gonna say, despite having the
the
Baron buff, the game's still stagnating.
yeah, the problem with me is like that point. The Baron, the way that they utilize the Baron has been really disjointed and not really good. Like if you're going to go for this Twisted Fate build, yes, it's to try and get picks with the cards, but also you get a lot of value going into the side lane and actually attacking turrets. But they're not trying to do that. Now they are able to put position on the mid lane, but oh wait, yeah,
Flash engage from Redtastic. Seraphine has the follow-up. Ultimate Ash is
okay,
able to kite away. Flash forward from the Kennen, slicing Maelstrom onto the backline, and Big Chill
okay.
able to take down the Ash. That's a
Seraphine is
shutdown.
alive still.
Seraphine is still alive, pumping up the hills, and here's the Mundo trying to take up everything, but the damage is just all over the place. TF and Olaf on the backline, and Big Chill forced to go 1v3. Is going to be able to take someone down. He is nice. He gets stunned and locked up. Jin, the only one still alive, and that's a 2 for 4 right now. Not good enough. Going to be able to march down the mid lane. They're going to take the inhibitor. At least they might be looking to end the game.
I think they can win the game. The Jin is the only last hope of protection. I don't know what Twisted Fate is doing this. They should just run towards the turret. Like with one card, you stun the Jin, he's dead. But he's not going. What is... Okay,
Yeah, it looks like
I don't know what Twisted Fate is not committing for this.
the
Yeah, they can win
communication
this.
just is not there right now. But here's Redtastic. He's followed up, gets the lockup onto the Olaf, and Jin trying to put
Jin is
down the
on charge.
damage. Redtastic just taking all of the damage, and here comes the tower. The
It's not
Nexus
enough.
is exposed. Redtastic forced to flip
Yeah, it's not
away, and
enough.
he falls down. The washed up ADC doing his best to put down the damage, but Mundo goes where he pleases and takes up the damage, and that means game 2 going to go over to not good enough. We're going to a game 3.
Yep, we will have a series in our hands, which is great. I think these two teams, like we were hyping this up as a series that these two teams could probably take off because they weren't that far in game scores. But it was interesting how the game ended up developing. The side from Dirty Diet needed a really huge advantage early on. They were able to make some really good plays here and there, achieve really an interesting lead of kills because at one point there were like 6-0 in kills, but the gold lead was never that huge. The gold lead was never that impactful that it actually mattered that they had that many kills. In comparison, the side of NGE was able to just abide their time, wait for the right moment, and when they were strong enough, they fight, and they won a lot of fights. And those fights were much more important because those were dragon fights, those were baron fights, those were fights to stop barons even. So it ended up accumulating to much more. And when they were equal to gold, they were actually ahead. And that meant that as soon as they can fight, it was going to be a much more easy time. And we saw it in the last fight. They tried to go for the Ash Seraphine. The Seraphine survives. Even if they kill the Ash, the Seraphine survived for so long. And even when they killed those two, the Olaf and the Twisted Fate arrived and they cleaned up the fight later. Mundo was at the start, he never died. Nobody could kill the Mundo. So it was just an uphill battle that I don't think there was ever a chance for DD to be able to pull it off.
And looking at the damage graph, DD, they did more damage, but it doesn't matter when you have that stacked up Mundo. And it just all comes back to that Baron play for me, where they got that one pick and they went to force that Baron, and then Mundo just teleported back in.
Yeah.
That's kind of where the game just blew up, and Dirty Diet just kind of lost their hold on their lead of the game. But taking a look moving forward, I'm just taking a look. Who is your MVP for this game?
If Dirty Dad had won, I would have said Retastic, but I feel like it has to be B-Hop. Because he not only won his lane alone, he was really far ahead of the cannon, but he also was so impactful in teamfights. He had one big mistake that I can recall that was dying on the Dragon Pit that forced Dirty Dad to go for the Baron, and they ended up losing after that. But after that, he was a huge, massive rock in front of the composition of Dirty Dad. So there was no real chance for them to answer him, and I feel like he played really well this game apart from that a small blunder. I feel like his gameplay was really good overall.
Yeah, he had that huge CS lead in the top lane. I think it was 30 or 40 at one point.
Yeah.
Kennen used the teleport to go bottom, but he saved his teleport, stayed on the top side, and really made use of that. He probably got a lot of plays for himself, too. Personally, I think I might have voted for the Seraphine for that game just because landed
Fair
so
enough.
many clutch ultimates. I mean, going through the teammates and, kind of nullifying the Xin Zhao engages a little bit.
Yeah.
But I could give it to either B Hop or Seraphine. Both of them, I think, played very well throughout this game as the game developed. And we're going to game 3, so it's pretty much anyone's series from here on out. And remember, it's only in game 3 now because of a technicality. We had those solo queue shenanigans. One of the players' accounts got locked out, or was I think it was held hostage. Is that the phrase?
Yeah.
In a
It was
normal
held
game.
hostage in a solo queue game.
Yeah, so now we're moving on to a game 3, and it's pretty much winner take all as we move into this. So as we prepare to get into this next game, we need to get into the lobby. We need to get some pro drafts going. In the meantime, I think we're going to take a small break from the side of the production. So make sure you guys hang around. Don't go too far. Get yourself a snack. Come on back for game 3 of this series of Dirty Diet versus Not Good Enough. We'll see you in a bit. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, as we are going to enter game three to determine the winner of the best of three series between Not Good Enough and the Dirty Diet. We are going to get into Pro Draft pretty soon, but to sum up game number two, I'm going to throw it over to my friend TDS. How would you summarize that game?
David versus Goliath after 30 minutes, pretty much, I think. Because after 30 minutes, it was impossible for David to win. Before, maybe, but after that, it was impossible. I know that David wins, but I'm just saying Goliath should have won. Okay,
And it just took them so much to kill the Ash. Ash had the shield bow and wit's end,
and
and Kennen
Seraphine.
just threw everything. Yeah, and Seraphine, and so it was just so hard for them to take down the Ash. By the meantime, Mundo went anywhere he wanted into the back line and just destroyed the team. But we are going to load into Pro Draft right now. Our teams are ready, and it looks like they are already getting through this Pro Draft. I haven't seen these picks so far, so they may know something we don't. But the first ban of Tryndamere coming from the side of Dirty Diet, and
Yeah.
LeBlanc going to be first ban on the side of Not Good Enough.
Yeah, at this level, it's pretty much just comfort banning because you really don't want to fight face against a person that has played multiple games in these kinds of champions. And it makes sense. I think Tryndamere, Mordekaiser, or the Bank find enough bans to just dissuade people from just 1v9 on their main favorite champion. So I think it is a really okay way of going banning, especially because I feel like even if you have really OP picks, I think there's good enough answers that you don't have to worry that much. One for example that we didn't see in the previous game that I think should be in consideration is the six. I think six didn't wasn't played. He could have been played instead of the Jin, and they would have had much more ability to be able to poke with the Zoe without having to worry that much about not being able to hit the backline because the super mega death bomb or the Inferno Bomb, I think it is, it's really damaging and it's not like the Jhin that has to go through people first. The rest of the bans are Diana, Zed, and Ashe. I think understandable. Diana, we didn't see it in the previous game, she was banned as well. So I think I understand the Ashe makes sense since it was a huge force in what made NGE be able to win. And first pick Belcos, okay.
Yeah,
Feels
so
interesting.
NGE banning that away from the other team, they utilized it themselves in their victory. So they understand the power of the Ash. They want to take away the first pick, and that enchanted crystal arrow just did so well for them.
Oh,
Did so
okay.
work. Oh, Nautilus first pick. Okay, so
All
we look
right.
at chat. Yeah, I was looking forward to the squid too. But Nautilus first pick from Dirty Diet is going to be, that's that CC, that utility that we see is meta right now from supports. You want to see supports that have a lot of CC, have a lot of engage, have that tankiness to play that front line to enable them to play more of those
Yeah.
scrappy junglers and top laners.
Yeah, and we saw Didi with a similar mindset previously with the Alistar, so I think staying on team makes sense for them, and it's NGE going for a similar thing as well, even though the Varus is not that consistent of an AD carry damage dealer right now because he tends to favor much more the lethality build. You do have really good setup with the Seraphine and with the Varus, so it makes sense to go for that. And on the other side, it's the Kai'Sa to follow up the Nautilus. I think it makes sense. It's the lane that a lot of people prioritize with the Kai'Sa. So at least it's mainly Kai'Sa Nautilus, and then you can make variations as long as you have enough CC to be able to proc the Kai'Sa passive, and that's the most important thing. So I think it makes sense to go with Kai'Sa, especially after Nautilus. And now a Kayn.
Ooh,
Not
Kanye.
knowing the enemy jungler, it's kind of risky to go with the Kayn, but Kayn does have value against certain champions, especially with us. If he goes assassin, he can put a lot of pressure against the backline, but at the same time he kind of works, I feel like he works kind of in the same vein as the Xin Zhao to a certain degree, in the sense that his way of going in is kind of really obvious, and you need to be really intelligent about how you try to play around it, because if not, you're just going to get CC to that.
Okay, so is it going to be blue cane, red cane, or purple cane?
So no Kane. It's purple Kane, no Kane.
Purple cane is a blue cane with the red cane build.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I hate that game particularly. I think you lose a lot of value, but it can be strong if you know. I think it's probably going to be Purple Cane because it's not only the most popular one, but it's kind of trying to get the best of both worlds. But I feel like if you commit to one, would have been better. But in this game, I think it's going to be Purple.
Having that damage onto the Kayn, from just the innate ability of going blue Kayn, but also, going with the sustain build, going probably with the Gore Drinker followed up by the Sterix, so able to get these rotations of
Yep.
spells again and again and again. And also, going blue Kayn gives you so much more movement speed going through the walls, so it would really help the engage either follow up on the Nautilus or also start the engage, and then while he goes into the opponent with his ultimate, Nautilus is able to follow up and get some CC. Um, Olaf being picked up on the side of not good enough. They favored it a lot in game one and it found a lot of success, and they're going to use a Rise for their mid lane. So it's a blind Rise, and they're going to save their counter pick for top lane. And rightfully so, I think, because B-Hop basically popped off last game.
Yeah, but Rice can still be a top lane pick. We haven't seen it, but there's still that chance, even Olaf to a certain degree. So I wouldn't just put the Rice yet on the mid lane, but I think putting B-Hap on with the counter pick makes a lot of sense. He certainly delivered in the previous game, and I think that he can do it once again. Even though Mundo and Tam Kench are banned, there are still really good tank champions that you can also go if you don't want to go for any specific counter pick. So it's not like it's impossible for NGE to try and get something really good out of this. On the other side, now Vladimir paired up with the rest of the compositions. You needed magic damage since you already had a lot of attack 80 damage on the other side, and illusion to finish this. It's going to be Vladimir top then, Lucian mid lane, and I like the idea of having Delusion because it gives you pressure on the mid lane. A lot of times you pick Delusion just to have that pressure in the mid lane because he tends to beat almost all the matchups. He kind of goes equal in some matchups like the Rise, but most of the time he can put a lot of pressure, so it makes sense here to try and give possibilities to the game to not be vulnerable to anything and be able to survive. And okay, NG answers with a KO, so the counter picked safe for this. Interesting.
Yeah, late game scaling comps from both sides. I mean, scaling in the terms of the Kaisa and the Vladimir, scaling in terms of the Rise and the Kale. So, I mean, if anyone gets an early foothold in this game, I can see it kind of running away.
Yep.
But when we get into the later stages, it all comes down to execution, like we said beforehand. I'm not 100% behind the Lucian pick, to be honest, just because Rise is kind of like a short range mage. So, Lucian being a shorter range AD carry as well, for him to do damage to the Rise, he also has to make himself vulnerable to him. Um, you know, so that's kind of the one thing I'm not too happy about in terms of looking at the Lucian, but the Vladimir is going to be able to dodge out in terms of a lot with his blood pool, is going to be able to really weaken up the rest of the team with his Tides of Blood and with his ultimate, the Hemo Plague. So it's, like we said, all down to execution yet again. But Kale can turn a team fight around with a clutch ultimate.
Wait.
Ryze can pop off.
Uh,
Seraphine, we saw Seraphine was clutch with their ultimates as well. Oh,
yeah.
this draft.
I, I think there was a mistake there. The KO ban there can happen, does happen. It's okay, but they haven't reset it yet, so I'm not.
They don't realize.
They realize, yeah. Well, it's okay. It's going to be. They have to
Uh,
realize eventually. So
it is possible that they said it in the chat that it should have been a different champion and we just didn't catch it before they went to game.
yeah, I don't think it's that bad. It's
There
okay.
we go.
Yeah, and they realized that it's okay. Anyway, going back into now talking a little bit of the compositions, like you're saying, there's a lot of scaling possibilities for both. Like, uh, I think Lucian can be an okay pick. I don't think it's the best pick, like you're saying, but his value is much more so to win the to be the stronghold in mid lane so that you can protect the Kane. Because the Kane is going to be the most important part of this composition in the sense that if he doesn't get his transformation before, I think 20 minutes is a little bit too high, but I think before 18 minutes, if you don't get your first transformation, it's going to be really hard for you. This game, although for Kane, I'm going to say that he has so many good places to go. Because in the three lanes, I'm not sure Kale how does she count, but I would expect that it's range. So in the three lanes, you have the possibility to get the blue souls, which means that you should be in a really good way to get that soul early on if you are able to gank. So I think the Kane that is what's going to matter the most with the Kane, but we need to see how DD does play around the Kane, and that's also why I think the Lucian was picked here.
Yeah, being able to navigate the terrain and use his E can create some very creative gank paths for the Kane. So it's kind of up to him to find these opportunities to get in and start building the
Yep.
stacks for his passive. right away. Does Kale count as ranged or melee? Does it change when Kale gets to level 6?
Yeah, that's something that I don't know. I really don't know. Which if I could, if I had to guess, I think it's going to be blue because she does get changed later on. So I think just putting her as a blue champion makes much more sense. But even if you cannot get on the Kale, you still can get on three other champions, which I think should be pressure much more because a lot of the fights that we saw in the previous game were more on bot side. So I think Kane, Big Chill will try and focus much more going down and trying to get the souls from there as well.
Okay, and we see Kale is put into the top lane, so that was not a last minute change in the chat, but we saw that a little bit earlier. And I mean, you said Lucian's that strong early pick, and Rise does take a while to get going. I mean, does need to stack that tier in order to get himself in a spot where he's able to stay in lane for a little bit longer. And Lucian could get on top of him, make use of the low cooldowns, the press of the attack, and that early pressure, like you said, to allow Kane to move into the opposite jungle.
He could also
I
go
mean,
quality.
that is true. That is definitely true as well. I keep forgetting that Lucian changes his build every once in a while.
Yeah.
Um, but having Kane doesn't want to go into the Olaf, especially if he's looking to go that blue build Kane. So maybe not looking for those jungle fights per se, but could roam with the Lucian to make these four mans happen on the bot lane, or maybe go up top and take down Kale, especially because Kale struggles in the early levels 1 through 6. So if Kale does end up under the tower pre-level 6, they might
Yeah.
be able to look for that early gank.
Yeah, and in the previous game, we saw a lot how Red Tastic played the game. He was going around the map trying to create as much pressure as he can, and I think he's going to repeat that this game, particularly because Ephemeral Voids on the Seraphine cannot follow up as well as the Nautilus on the Seraphine. She's much more susceptible to getting killed or just collapse if she's alone. So I think that if this time around the Nautilus is able to get a huge lead early on by roaming around and getting kills, it's going to matter much more because the Vladimir, the Lucian, the Kaisa, the Kane scale way better than what they had in the previous game. And if they get an early lead, it's going to lead into much more advantages later on, which I think Red Tastic does need to do a really good job for that to happen. But on the other side, if NGE doesn't die, doesn't overcommit, doesn't give away anything, they're similarly to what they needed to do in the previous game and they were able to execute, then they're going to be in a really comfortable position to try and fight in the later stages of the game.
Okay, and my best friend Google just came up and said, Kale is melee until she uses her E, then she becomes a ranged champion.
So it's both. What? Okay,
So
makes sense.
basically, it looks like as soon as Kale gets level 6, to turn into that ranged champion as well. So looks like Kane may be avoiding the top lane until he gets some stacks on the bottom side of the map.
I don't think he will ever go there, honestly, because with level 6 you get the ultimate, so you kind of are dissuaded to try and gank the Gale because of the ultimate, but at the same time you kind of want to get those boosts also. It's going to be hard for Big Chill to decide here, but I luckily he has other three places that he can look into to get those.
That is true. Going back to Red Tastic and talking about his performance from last game, I mean, he did really good in the early game. He started the snowball, was involved, I believe, in all 6 of the early game kills. But then as the game
Yes.
went on, he just kept getting caught out time and time again by the Enchanted Crystal Arrow, or just kind of got rotated on. So I'd like to see him clean that up a little bit in this game 3. Make sure that he doesn't get caught warding or pushing out without the proper backing from his team. There is a
Yeah.
little bit more of a limit in terms of the ranged engage from the side of not good enough. I mean, they do still have the Seraphine ult, but the Chains of Corruption from the Varus is a little bit shorter range than the global that is Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Also, the hitbox not quite as big. We see a lot of people miss the worm time and time again. Um, so they may be a little bit less punishing in terms of these early game roams and mid game roams.
Yeah, there's going to be much more, I think, possibilities for Retastic. Like you're saying, he did a really good job in the early game previously, and later on he kind of got much more caught out and was much more threatened. I think that was also burden of execution from the composition because I think he had to be able to carry the game through his engages, and in a composition that was losing so hardly later on, it was going to be harder and harder, which I mean just ended up blowing up in his face, and that's why it got worse the longer the game went on. I think this game it's going to be much better, and he will be able to execute much better as well.
It all comes down to comp diff pretty much. But we are
Yep.
ticking down into the loading screen, so we're going to take a short break. We'll see you guys back on the Rift in just a little while. Stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And we're not going to waste any amount of time as Dirty Diet looks for the invade. Email Man puts down the ward and walks away. Looks like he spotted it out. And let's
Hmm.
see how they respond with the invade. Olaf looks like he's going to push forward. Might look to get a ward. Actually ends up backing away. This is a great time for Olaf to get some early vision. Is he going to look for an invade? The rest of the team rotated out. He puts down the ward, and we're going to be back to pretty much basics in square one as he goes back to switch out for a red trinket.
Yep, I think the normal answer after seeing that huge invade on the bottom side, I think it was not well executed by NGE because they needed to try that by DD because they needed to try and use the fog of war better, but they just walked forward. And if someone was there, like the Rise was, it was going to be much easy to just dissuade the bait and put down a ward to try and deny anything. They have two wards down for vision to protect that, and then now also have the vision to know where the jungler is. So full advantage for the side of NGE right now.
Yeah, they do get vision of Big Chill this time. Remember, they did not see Big Chill last game, and that led to the early game bottom lane kill and kind of
Yeah.
started the snowball going before it petered out at the Baron play. So looks like junglers both kind of shaking hands. It looks like they're going to clear opposite sides. I don't think there's going to be anything interesting in terms of an invade, but I mean, you never know.
Maybe the Olaf. I don't think the Kane will try and go for that, but
Okay, and looking around, nothing too crazy. In terms of early start, Lucian looking for the Doran's start as opposed to the corrupting potion. So he's going to look to continuously push in the wave to keep his health bar on top. Really push the Rise under tower because Rise really loves to keep pushing with the mana. Keep forgetting the names over and over again. Uses the spell flux and the overload to keep the wave pushed. So using the Doran's blade is going to keep that wave pushed in the Lucian's favor, and like you said, really open up the Kayn to jungle pretty freely.
yeah, as long as the Kane is in an okay spot, you're doing a really good job here in Delusion, and you also will be able to move faster if you are able to keep on pushing the wave. The Rise, I think this is the correct thing to go against the Rise, because the Rise needs to utilize his mana as much as he can to push the wave and also get stacks on the tier, which means that if you're able to blow his mana up, you're going to be able to trade much more effectively. And if you see the Lucian has already a huge mana lead, which means that any trade that the Lucian can try and take will be much more favorable for him. We saw the Kane being on bot lane, but he didn't get much. He's now just clearing the Scuttlecraft. The wave positioning is really bad to try and go for a gank, especially as the Kane, because you don't have any real CC potential unless the Nautilus flashes in to hook someone. So he wasn't going to be able to achieve much apart from just wasting a little bit of time there.
And remember, he was spotted on that ward taking his blue buff earlier on. So the team should be aware that he is somewhere around the bot side. They are pushed up pretty far. And here comes Kayn going through the wall. They're going to
Oh,
look for the Seraphine. And they get the flash
nice
or the
hook.
prediction on the hook. See Seraphine locked up. He's going to be able to
Seraphine is
walk
alive still.
away. Still alive. He takes up the ignite, but just using the flash doesn't even take up the heal from Dream Release. And what a play right there. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Dreams was forced to use his flash away from the Rise Olaf gank as well.
Yeah, it was a commitment for the from the Ghost for the Olaf, but it is still a really good trade, better than anything because now the oh, he missed the cannon. The Rise has the flash, which means that he can set up for an E into a W stun so that you can get the damage out as the Rise, which I think it's one of the best ways to kind of set up a gank, especially with an Olaf that doesn't have any C. And on the bottom lane, it was a really great prediction by Redtastic, but the Seraphine survivability potential there, not even blowing the heal. She was able to survive without blowing the heal from the virus and still run away. And they committed the flash from the Nautilus and the ignite for just one summoner from the Seraphine.
Something I want to touch on a little bit is in that bot lane after up. Look at the CS difference. Double the CS right now from
Yeah.
the Kai'Sa. They were able to get a very solid freeze on that wave at the bottom lane. And we'll see if Kayn decides to path towards bots. Only really has the Raptors to go to and kind of sack
Oh,
his topside
Redtastic.
jungle. Redtastic goes forward, props the Aftershock onto Seraphine, but just a little bit of trade of spells. And really, bot lane is where Kayn is going to be getting his stacks.
Oh, Redtastic
Oh,
doesn't have
Redtastic.
flash.
Yeah, just caught out a little bit too far. Here's Unreliable Guy, who is a level 5, by the way, who's been power farming like crazy. Undertow falls a little bit short, and Redtastic uses the dredge line to get away.
Oh, he got it.
Undertow lands, and he gets taken down by Dream Release. First blood with the hail of arrows.
Yeah, and more importantly, it went for the Barras there. Ooh, heavy trade on the top
Oh.
lane.
And also the bot lane too, Unreliable Guy does find Big Chill. So there is some damage put down, and Kane maybe get a little bit of stacks, but towards the red Kane, we still don't know if he's planning on going blue or red. That's just what we kind of hypothesize. But look at this, he
Yeah.
goes through the wall, gets
Oh,
stopped
he missed
with
the
the
Q.
Rune Prison. Yeah, doesn't get the Q and has forced to flash out, puts down the slow
Unreliable
onto
Guy.
Unreliable Guy.
The
Look
ultimate
at
comes
Lucian,
through.
he goes forward, he has the calling and takes down the Viking, and Unreliable Guy. Pretty unreliable on the mid lane as Lucian picks up a kill for himself.
Yeah, a little too over aggressive, especially after knowing that the big chill flash. You don't need to keep on running there, especially because now you're going to get corralled by Lucian. And Lucian level 6 deals a lot of damage, as we see. Unreliable Guy ends up getting killed there. And because of that, now at least the game evens up much better. And with the bot lane difference, because of that kill, now the gold is in favor of the side of DD, which is not something that we were expecting, especially with as much action as happened before. But really nice job by the bot lane to set up the freeze so that the Barrows would be so far behind. And we are already seeing Redtastic moving around.
Yeah, and looks like Dirty Diet, they opt to go back in the bot lane, so allowing the Varus and the Seraphine to set up a freeze for themselves. But it wasn't over the term of 1 or 2 waves. They are going to answer a little bit of this farm back for the bot lane, but Dreams is on his way down
Oh,
with
big shield.
Redtastic. Still has Culling on cooldown, so when Kaisa gets there, we might see a little bit of something happen. Big Chill forced to get away from an unrealistic guy. I'm looking at the wrong side of the map. But Olaf just bullying the Kane out of his own jungle. Looks like he's not going to take anything, though, because Kane was able to get his blue buff before anything happened.
I honestly don't like that much the Olaf taking the ghost. I think that just the flash is much better, but it's a taste thing. Oh, nice.
Nice dodge from Dreamer
Yeah.
Release, the dodge to Dredge line. Redtastic has been on point pretty much with a lot of his engages this game, so you really got to give hats off to the footwork of Dream Release. And the wave is in a pretty awkward spot. Olaf was spotted on the opposite side of the map, though, so they are able to freely push up and get this wave shoved in so it bounces back.
Yeah, the only problem right now for Dream Release and Ephemeral Voids is the fact that they hadn't back yet, so they are not in a super comfortable position because they can, the side of DD can try and go for a dive. Oh,
Yeah, lands the Dredge line onto the
flash.
Varus, forcing the flash from Dream Release. Very
And
nice
heal.
play. And heal, wow.
Oops,
Impressive
almost
hook.
out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
meanwhile, on the mid side, we see the red team going to collapse onto Dreams. Emo Man steps forward, uses the Spellfox and the Rune Prison, but Dreams just going to walk right into him. He is not afraid. And
Yeah,
just a 1
he's
for
really
1
strong.
overall.
Like if you look at itemization, he has an Unquiver already with a Cloak of Agility to just the tier, the Sapphire Crystal, and the Amplifying Tome in the mid lane. So it's not like he cannot fight against the Rise, but he needs to be careful because if he ever gets in a awkward positioning and he gets just set up by the Rise, it's going to be any skill. 3 members coming into the mid lane. Wow.
And that's that roaming potential that we talked about from Redtastic going with the jungler to look for the fights, and Lucian being able to push up as well. Not able to get the last hit on the ward. That's a feels madman, but with the pressure that they have on both of their lanes, they're going to look to take down this dragon. Olaf is on the top side. Ultimates are available for both set of teams.
Yeah, it's at least everyone being able to are in a really comfortable spot after the first scales that we saw kind of just going back to farming and trying to create pressure but not achieving much. In the top side, the Vladimir does commit teleport, so now Kale has a TP advantage to try and put pressure elsewhere, but we obviously know that Kale doesn't really want to leave the lane to try and help them up before she gets level 11 or at least an item, so it's not like we're going to see the Kale trying to teleport and help anything else. It's a really nice first dragon secure with every bit of pressure that they had on both mid lane and on bottom lane. They were able to just move into the dragon and secure it. And these are a bit of what happened on the first game. I feel like with the pressure that the team had on both of those lanes, they were able to secure the first Drake for their team. In the previous game, it was NGE. This time around, it's DD. And we need to see how they keep on going for these Drakes because the Drake win condition is something really important. Oh, Chains of Corruption.
Yeah, lands the ultimate from the Seraphine does go a little bit
Does he
wide. Is
doesn't have
fantastic.
ultimate?
Plays the plays the body blocking game very well. And like you said, no depth from below going to come out. Piercing arrow, teeing it up, does land onto Wash Up ADC, but just tickles him barely. Um, so good change of corruption and some good damage from the bot lane of NGE. Meanwhile, on the top side, Kane is looking for a gank onto the Kale. Top gap Sag
Oh,
is there. They don't have a knockup or any kind of hard CC, forcing the flash from B-Hop as transfusion or the Hemo Plague does land as well. So that's a lot of damage down. Olaf is here waiting
Olaf
for
is
the
here.
dive. And he's going to step forward slow, is not landed. He forces the Ragnarok a little bit early, does have Ghost available, and the Hemoblade goes down now from the Vladimir as here
Rise.
comes the Lucian. Rise uses the ultimate and
Oh,
follows up. Choline is online, but I don't think there's any
oh,
mana from
really
the
well done.
Lucian. Meanwhile, on the bottom side, opposite side of the map, a 2v2 kill. Redtastic and the washed up ADC go 2 for 0 in the bot lane. So across the map, action on both ends.
Yeah, and there was a massive, massive problem in that bot lane five that it started previously with both of the with both the Varus and Seraphine trying to engage and get a kill. And you talked about it. You gave a specific point as to why that went so badly in retrospective, and it's because the Varus and the Seraphine didn't have any damage. They hadn't backed. The Varus had just the Doran's Blade and the Tear of the Goddess, close to no damage to try and pierce through the Nautilus and the Kaisa. And because of that, the next trade that the Nautilus and the Kaisa went for when they have ultimates up was much better for them because they did have the extra damage as well as the level 6, so they were able to pull it off. If the Varus and the Seraphine, or at least the Varus, has lethality already in his build, then that fight it's completely different because they probably killed the Nautilus previously, and then they can try and put pressure on the Kaisa as well. But they didn't back, they weren't able to do anything, and really nice capitalization by the bot lane from the side of DD.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how much gold you have if it's all sitting in your pocket. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Kale was looking for a little bit of a roam, put down some damage onto Big Chill. He wasn't able to get any damage back. So again, pretty slow in terms of stacking his passive and getting his transformation.
Yeah, and that is going to be a worrying thing if he cannot get that up. Like I was saying, I would expect at least at the 18. Oof, that is a lot of damage mid lane. Comes Big Chill, but I don't think he can achieve much, especially
Oh yeah, it's a flash forward from Engelman trying to
really
get
nice.
the lockup. A big ultimate from the Seraphine, and Big Chill able to dodge out the CC with the ultimate. So Umbral Trespass on cooldown as it's a 2v3 overall. I think it's very good play from Dirty Diet to survive that. Meanwhile, we see Dragon on the objective timer. Shouldn't be coming up for another minute or so. So the teams are going to go back. They may have ultimates around that time, but for the second game in a row, the teams kind of ignore the Rift Herald.
Yeah, and I think this game is much more understandable. Oh, Chains of Corruption hit again.
Yeah, it does land onto the Kaisa and doesn't put down the auto attacks first before using the damage on Washed Up ADC,
Oh,
using the
she
ultimate to
dies.
go in, but doesn't go in the right direction, and Dreamingly's forced to flash out. Here comes the Ragnarok, or the
Oh,
Undertow lands onto him. Redtastic hooks him up and trying to put down the damage and lock him under the tower, forces the Ignite, and here comes the Big Chill. The Big Chill looking for the big cleanup. Is he going to land any damage? Gets the Dark Harvest stack onto the Seraphine. But there are no cooldowns right now, and they're just playing it really slow. Here comes the Varus looking for some damage, and Big Chill just eating a whole bunch,
he
and
missed.
the hook splits all three members, does not land on a single one, and Big Chill forced to limp away as Redtastic has
No
no escape.
flash.
No flash, and the piercing arrow goes over to the side of Dream Release. Meanwhile, Big Chill able to get away from Email Man, and he keeps himself alive. And that just went so wrong for Dirty Diet. It looked so good, but just ended up falling so short.
Yeah, first of all, the kill attempt on the Kai'Sa was really well done. They utilized the Chains of Corruption really well and were able to burst this time the Kai'Sa. Like we say, with the extra damage, they are actually able to burst out the Kai'Sa and kill her. And later, like you're saying, even though Big Chill arrives, he doesn't have ultimate, he doesn't have flash, he cannot commit much more aggressively, and he needs to bide his time before he actually is able to go in. But because the Nautilus misses the hook there, it's not completely his fault. He didn't have any vision on the push that he particularly sent the hook out. But because he misses the hook, they are able to now counter against the Nautilus because he has no more escape ways. He doesn't have any way to counter engage against you either. So it was a really easy round against the Nautilus. And Big Chill luckily survives, but that trade could have been much more better for Dirty Died. And like you're saying, it ended up favoring much more the side of NGE. And now this Drake fight.
Yeah, it's going to be Infernal for the second Drake, so we're going to see either another Ocean Soul or a Cloud Soul. And Rise is on his way back. He is backing, I
Quick
think,
thing.
barely just
Uh,
get out of vision. He does have
Olaf?
the teleport available. Dredgeline lands onto the Olaf, forcing the Ragnarok right away. And then watch them
Oh,
ABC going
huge
for a
ultimate.
big ultimate from the Seraphine. And Big Chill is rooted, not able to use the ultimate. And so far, it's a 1v1 as both jugglers go down. Death from Revo is going to land onto the Rise. And the second kill going over to the side of Dirty Diet.
Yeah,
That's going to
that's the thing.
be a win.
Oh,
Go ahead.
yeah, the problem was that for that fight, it was a really nice engage, and the Seraphine ultimate came in huge. But the a really important difference: 5v4. The Vladimir had teleport up, the KO didn't. So it's not like even if you're able to kill one target, you're going to be able to win the fight because the Vladimir was going to provide the extra support. Now the Drake goes on to the side of NG, but that team fight could have been a little bit better for the side of DD if they could have forced a little bit earlier, and if Big Chill is able to survive as well.
Yeah, BHAP going to be able to return by getting the first tower of the game. So kind of like a reflection of last game, BHAP wasn't roaming with the team. The teleport timers kind of weren't there and just doing his own thing in the top lane. But this time matched way better by the Vladimir, going toe for toe in terms of CS. But
Yeah,
Vladimir with the more impactful teleport didn't pick up a single assist with that TP, but was able to put down enough pressure for his team to win the game, or win the
yeah,
match, or win the skirmish.
yeah, and that's to a certain degree much more important than just trying to win laning wise because your team composition does scale really well. So trying to support your team as best as you can, it's going to be really ideal. The good thing for NG is it's because they get the first rate. Oh wait, Big Chill, Miss W.
Big Joe puts down the damage and does have the power scald, gets through, dodges some damage
Olaf.
with the ultimate, with the Umbral Trespass. Doesn't quite have his form yet, but we see the Gale Force from Dreams gets a takedown for himself, his 4th kill of the game so far, but they are in a very bad spot, having to fight their way out.
Oh, super
Dreams goes
low.
forward and just takes down the Seraphine before the rest of the team can get there. He may go down. Here comes the Ragnarok. Flash forward. The Colleen is just going to eat Unreliable Guy alive, and they turn back and get the damage down, and Dreams is unstoppable. Meanwhile, Nautilus finds Dream Release on the backline and picks up a kill for himself. And Dirty Diet just kind of running away with this game in the mid game.
Yeah, really nice set of plays. And now Big Chill with the Kane Assassin build, which he went for the Assassin part because he went for the the Prowler's Glow. He's now dealing a lot of damage and he's trying to seclude targets. With the vision that they were able to gain because of the dragon victory that they had, they are now able to just collapse on an objective that is really bad positioning. He went for the Rise, didn't even force the Rise, didn't even flash, he was just bursted out, and the Olaf was really late to try and go for the play. So overall, really nice play and taking a lot of advantages out of kind of a small things to a certain degree. Also, Lucian doing a lot as well. Oh, Retastic.
Yeah, Redtastic goes forward a little bit too far as Email Man was on his way. Did not have the ultimate available. They're going to be able to take down his kill eventually. Teleport coming in from the Lucian, and the ultimate lands on everyone. Watch ADC goes so far in, but Redtastic going to stay alive, and Email Man trying his best to kite out. And here comes Dreams just going forward and just tearing apart the enemy team. He is dominating 6-0-3 right now. Moves forward, does not have the coin yet to take down the Seraphine, but Dreams is everywhere on this map. Meanwhile, on the other side, Big Chill is taken down. Yeah, does not have the ultimate. He falls, and here comes Top Gap Sag trying his best to fight back. Does use the blood pool and flash to get away. So they do answer back 1 kill on the opposite side of the map, but the Lucian is just so far ahead.
Yeah, Lucian, right now, he's a true carry, a true monster. He will be able to win close to any 1v1 against almost anyone, even against the Olaf. I feel like he has enough damage and he's able to kite around really well. Really nice teleport by LGC Dreams to just collapse in that fight really quickly. And it's Didi with quick decision making on the bot side to go for that fight and be able to win it. Crucial cooldowns were down on the side of NG, specifically the chains of corruption were not up, which means that it was going to be much harder to win that fight, but it was really well fought by DD overall. And on the top side, finally we see a little bit of attention on the Herald. The side of NG were able to secure that Herald, but Big Chill went in way too aggressively. He didn't have ultimate. He couldn't survive for long enough before the Vladimir comes in, and he's able to provide support. So he does instantaneously and just gives a kill away for the kill. Oh.
Yeah, we see the ultimate from the
I don't know
Nautilus
about
going
the
on to
Zanyas.
Emo Man. Yeah, he had the Zanyas, but he's going to be able to walk away as it gets body blocked by Unreliable Guy. Uses the Gore Drinker to keep himself alive, but Dreams is godlike as he uses the Choline. 7-0-3, not able to stop the Rift Herald charge, but the tower is still going to be alive. And third Dragon of the game coming up within a minute or so. Kill just still away on the top side. I haven't seen BHAP use a teleport for his team once so far.
Yeah, I think now we're entering much more into a place where he probably can look into playing with the team. But I'm also not going to follow him if he doesn't, because I feel like it's a much more important win condition to have the KO at 16 and farming than trying to just protect your teammates' blunders, which I feel like the rest of the
Oh,
team have been doing
this
well.
1v1 maybe? Maybe? Is Dreams gonna get a little spicy? Goes
Yeah, I
forward,
don't
uses
think
the
Beef
dash, and
wins
puts
that.
down the damage. And Bhap is still there, has the ultimate online, and Dreams has to use the Gale Force to get out, so still a very close 1v1, even
Yeah,
though Dreams was 7-0.
yeah, but Dreams didn't have ultimate, so if the ultimate is up, oh, Ephemeral Void.
Yeah, Woods gets caught out, and Big Chill is just able to take him down. That's the power of the blue cane on any kind of squishy. And a pretty much almost a 1-for-1. The kill forced to go back. Does have the teleport available and is pathing towards that dragon, but they do not have the numbers advantage. So third dragon of the game going to go over to the Dirty Diet.
Yeah, there's no real way to contest. After the Seraphine is dead, you're losing a really huge and crucial part of your composition because it's the denier of the assassin because of the W, as well as the follow up to engage, or even main engage because realistically they don't have any main engage or main frontline. So it's going to be really important to have the surfing there. But the side of NG keeps dying, trying to clear up vision when they are alone, and that's not something that you can allow. This turret should go down and then an engage maybe. Okay, no, they didn't try an overforce. I like this. They don't need to commit. You get the turret, you can go away. You also will be able to open a vision, but Kim be upcoming here.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, use the teleport. It was kind of expecting the team to engage. Unreliable guy stepped up, but the rest of the team did not. So if the team was able to engage, it might have been something. Dreams gets forward, puts down some damage, answered back from the Kale, and they're just skirmishing over Vision. Baron is up at 22 minutes. Maybe a little bit early of a Baron, but the teams, I think, a lot more pressed are able to kind of take down the Baron this time with the Rise on one side and the double ADC comp on the other.
yeah, there's much more chances to rush it, and also Rice has the possibility of using the realm warp to kind of cheat the vision from the side of their DI. So they need to be extra careful about what they end up committing for and how they committed for those things. Also, the teleport from Behab, he finally commits his teleport, but it's such a bad teleport timing because there's no, like we were saying, there's no realistic way to engage into the enemy comp because you don't have any to engage. Like the only real engage is the Encore, and it's not com- um, confident enough or good enough to be used as a main engage. I think it's better to use it reactively against anything that the side of Dirty Diet will try and do, which means that you cannot pull on aggressive plays like that. You need to be much more careful about how you use your summoners and how you try to force fights.
Exactly. So taking account of the game, almost a 4,000 gold lead for the side of Dirty Diet. Important levels to look at right here. Kale at level 14, so almost at that level 16 power spike.
Two
Meanwhile,
levels.
Lucian approaching. Excuse me. Meanwhile, Dreams at level 14 as well does have the level lead, and I believe the gold lead so far 700 gold bounty on his head, and we saw it almost went down a little bit earlier. Void stepping up without any teammates around him, so does face the possibility of being collapsed on. 2 towers to 2 so far, and Soul Point coming up in about 2 minutes. So overall in this game, it's basically Lucian and Kaisa in terms of the damage
Big
output.
chill.
But Big Chill does get caught out,
Oof.
uses his dash to go forward and uses his flash to get away.
Yeah, at least he's able to survive, but overcommitting their Big Chill with no vision, trying to go into the jungle. And if the Lucian is much more close, then maybe they can just collapse on Big Chill on the Kane and just kill him instantaneously. So he needs to be much more careful now without the flash. He does have to consider how he plays, but he's still really strong. He still can 1v1 almost anyone. And if anyone goes out of position where there's vision for the side of 30 die, they're going to get collapsed by the Kane.
Dreams and Red Tastic setting up a pretty cheesy bush, waiting for the Rise to
Will it
overextend.
work? Hmm.
I don't know.
Okay.
He's walking pretty
Oh,
close to it. Oh, Dream shows a little bit too early.
if it
I think
waits
he
a
might have
little,
fallen
maybe it
for it.
works. Yeah.
Meanwhile, just cleaning up waves and basically waiting for the next objective, it feels like, for these teams. Trying to do their best to keep their camps cleared up. You know, they're taking care of all their jungle caps, taking up every little bit of XP and gold on the map that's available. And Red Tastic still just following this Lucian, and rightly so. You know who has the power, so you want to kind of follow him around and enable him.
Yeah, and I feel like Kaisa should be close enough to her circle to her second evolve if she doesn't have it already, which means that she can kind of build for herself. But I feel like you're saying, the strongest member being the Lucian, if you commit over to him and he gets much more kills, you can pressure much more the side lane because he has that dueling power that not really any other AD carry can have, as apart from maybe the Vayne or Kaisa to a certain degree. But I think the shadowing delusion is much more ideal. And if you win this bottom lane push or are able to keep on this push on the bottom lane, you also get instantaneous access towards the bottom side of the map. So the blue side jungle, the red side jungle, and the Drake pit, which is so ideal to get.
And take a look at the vision that's laid down by Dirty Diet. Three
Complete control.
wards laid down in that blue side of the jungle with the dragon coming up in about 5 seconds. So yeah, like you said, complete control over that dragon vision. They're doing very well with their powerful lead. They're pushing up, they're getting the deep vision, and they're getting ready to play around these major objectives. Scrying Orb is used to spot out the dragon. They notice it hasn't been taken yet, and this is where we might see a little bit of a handshake in
Oh,
terms of Baron teleport from the kill going to the top side, so leaving 3 people to take care of the dragon, but they're going to force the Baron on the side
but
of
Lucian is here.
NGE. Lucian is there, does have the coin available, so he could soften them up. His team is on their way, and they're not able to take it fast enough. And here's the Coin just
Vladimir also
melting
here.
the rest of the team. Ultimate from Vladimir is coming around
Oh,
the side, forcing the Ragnarok out of the Olaf. And are they going to turn their sights on the Baron? Lucian going
yeah.
very low from that damage. But here comes the Big Jill using... Oh, the huge damage. He gets locked up from the Seraphine ultimate, uses the ultimate to keep himself alive just for a little
Here's
bit.
Vladimir.
But Kale
Yeah.
takes him down. Vladimir is there, uses the Hemo Plague and puts him down. Watching AGC forced to flash out. And here's Rise trying to clean up. He misses the Q, misses the Everfrost. And
Oh
Dream Elite's not able
no!
to look it up. But here comes Lucian over the wall. Forces the GA out of his other team, and Dream Release is able to get out. Shutdown, huge shutdown goes onto
The
Emo
Tastic
Man,
is dead.
and Red Tastic is the only one alive. Dream Release answering back with the damage. There goes the Undertow, double kill onto Dream Fantastic, and an ace going over to the side of Not Good Enough, who are indeed good enough for the ace.
Yeah, the Kale needs to get here to be able to clean this Baron up, but that team fight, it was a huge roller coaster for both teams. It looked so good for NG and
There's no way
for
they finish
Dirty
it,
Diet,
right?
and so
There's
they
no
need
way.
the
They're
kill.
gonna die. They're gonna die.
They're
They're
dead.
both
Oh
gonna
my
die.
god.
Oh my god.
They need a kill there. The kill had to be there before they can actually commit. Now it opens up a possibility for Dirty Diet to get the Baron because they have double teleport. Yeah, they have double teleport.
Yeah, and you see, here comes the Vladimir teleport. The Lucian's gonna spawn in a few seconds.
Well,
And
Rice
that
also has teleport.
feels bad, man. IDK, let's remake in all chat. So Rise does have the teleport available. It's a 3v5 at best. The rest of the team on their way. And Big Chill already down to half HP, so it is still
Seraphine
winnable.
no ultimate.
Doesn't have ultimate for a little bit. That is correct. Kale no ultimate as well, so missing some pretty big
Wait, Big
cooldowns.
Q.
And Dreams isn't hitting it. Big Chill is down very low right now. May be forced to use the smite a little bit early to keep himself alive.
Big
There is
Q.
no ultimate. Olaf is still in base, and Big Chill is going down so low.
Okay. Oof.
Here it comes. Woo! Has the smite to keep him alive, but that was a lot more stressful than it needed to be.
Yeah, it was closer than it actually should have been. I think maybe they could have pressured a little bit more if they had the Seraphine ultimate, but no Seraphine ultimate. It's much more easy for the side of DD to be able to secure this Baron. And the problem in both times, first of all, the first time that NG tried to go for the Baron, it wasn't a bad call as a whole, but the KO went immediately towards the top lane wave instead of going immediately for the Baron, and the Rise wasn't there either, which means that you lose a lot of instantaneous objective damage, and that makes it much more harder to get. And then when the DD were able to push the NG out of the Baron pit, for some reason they tried to follow when they could have just gone for the Baron themselves. Oh wait, oh, Ephemeral Void is dead.
Yeah, they caught him. There comes Dreams, takes him down with the
Ouch.
Gale Force. And Kale still not quite at level 16 yet, getting very close, about a quarter of a level until that happens. But in the meantime, a 3,000 gold lead, almost 4k gold lead for the side of Dirty Diet. And with the Baron empowered minions, they're going to try to 1-3-1 yet again. Actually, it's like a 1-2-2 at the moment.
Yeah.
But Kale going to be able to soak up the minions under the tower. Rise is still there. So Dream's probably looking, uses the dash a little bit early,
Ooh.
he uses the Colin, but here comes Email Man, only level 14, so he's just there to clear the wave, not looking for the 2v1 fight. Meanwhile, Ragnarok popped by the Olaf on the bottom side as the tower goes down. So Emo Man kind of all over the place, doesn't commit to any fight mid or top. Meanwhile, Big Chill and Top Gap are just going to town on that bottom inhibitor tower, and NGE just not going to be able to answer any of this. Dream Release is going down, has the Chains of Corrupted, forcing the flash off of Big Chill, some
Nice
pretty
force.
big cooldowns. But here
Wait.
comes Kale on the flank. I don't know how big of a deal that's going
I
to
don't know
be.
about
Is level
this.
16, goes forward onto the Kane. Kane
Email man?
able to go through the wall and get out. And here we go, Tyza Bot is popped onto B-Hop, but just putting down the damage. Kale just does so much. Big dodge with the pool to get away from the Seraphine ultimate. Meanwhile, on the mid lane, we see them move forward. We see a double kill for the washed up ADC as the rest of the team is just chasing the
They
jungle.
couldn't get the
And
kill.
they couldn't get the kill. Meanwhile, Drudrine
No
onto the
Ragnarok.
Olaf. He has no Olaf. He has no Ragnarok, so washed up ADC able to get out of the tower and able to take it down himself. And NGE just in shambles right now. Email Man ends up dying somewhere,
Yeah.
and I don't know if they're going to be able to hold this up. B-Hop trying to
Maybe a peek.
defend the inhibitor. They aren't able to put down.
Oh
He flashes
no.
forward, tries to put down the slow, and Redtastic flashes away, and the washed up ADC just stops. I think maybe he's just playing with him. Maybe that was an accident or a misclick. But meanwhile, on the top side, Dreams is going to take a free inhibitor tower for himself. And Email Man and Dream Release are on the way. Dream should be able to get it and get out. Meanwhile, Elder Dragon is going to be up in a few seconds, and they have the mid-top
NG cannot
ideal
answer.
inhibitor tower. Yeah, there's no way. There's no way, right?
Realistically, there shouldn't, because now with everything that like everything wrong that NGE did, leaving the base open like this, trying to go for plays and all that, because of the two inhibitors open now, the DD will now have complete control once again of the jungle. And that also means that if you look at Dreams, he has teleport, which means that if every member of NGE ever goes out of position, Lucian can just go there and finish the game.
Yeah, the Elder Dragon coming up in about 10 seconds, and both teams are posturing. So if NGE are going to take this fight, they need to take it soon because they are minions knocking on their base. Redtastic is stepping forward. The rest of the team kind of waiting to step up with him. And here comes
They
Here
depend
comes
on
the
the
big
KO.
Realm Warp. Realm Warp is coming on the top side, so they're kind of splitting the fight. But Emo Man just gets caught up. Zani is forced right away, and the kill goes onto the Olaf, who's not going to be able to stay alive too long. And B-Hop just dies right away, not able to put down the damage. Big Chill getting a double kill, and here comes Dreams on his back line, taking down a kill for himself. Meanwhile, the washed up ADC on a Rampage. Dream Release trying to put down some damage, but he's not going to be able to survive. And that's a triple kill for Big Chill. That's going to be an ace for Dirty Dead. And that's going to be the series for DD as they take the game in 3.
Yeah, it went the whole way because of reasons, obviously, but it was really well played by both sides. The second game, we saw a really good composition from NGE. They tried to replicate this in the third game, but this time around, DD didn't just fall for the bait and go for something really aggressive. They played something that can scale really well, but they also executed really well in the early game as well. So they, with the advantage they had early on, mixed with a better composition in the later stages, they had much more power and were able to clean it up later on. This game could have gone differently if NGE doesn't overcommit for the Baron after they were able to clean up the fight. Because if the Baron stays there and Kale is able to reach level 16, maybe they are able to try and put pressure on there and they can win a lasting fight. But because of everything that transpired in the Baron pit and every kill that happened there, NG kind of just fell into shambles and didn't know what to do anymore.
It all comes down to the Baron play in game 2
Yeah.
and game 3. So just cleaning up a little bit, but you can tell that there's not too much of a skill gap between these two teams. I
Yeah.
believe Dirty Diet goes up to 4-0. So even though it looks like their record's undefeated, it showed in game 2 of this series that they are vulnerable. And you got to think back to that early game hostage situation where the account was locked into a normal game. We would be going to a game 3 right now if it wasn't for that early kind of shenanigans that happened. But we'll never know. That's the importance of making sure everything is good and ready to go with your team's accounts before you go into a tournament game. So let that be a lesson for you guys, viewers, for that. And overall in the series, I mean, it was just good League of Legends. It was a very fun game to cast. I feel like the team comps, they played to their team comps pretty well in both games. But overall, do you have any final words or any final analysis to provide us, TDS? Okay, it looks like I may have lost TDS on the broadcast. Maybe it was a muted mic or something. But I'll go ahead and wrap this up. So for myself, my name is Acolyte. On the play-by-play, TDS was helping me out today with the color casting. We got to give a huge shout out to Taco Nuva, who is our streamer and broadcast. We have to give a huge shout out to the people behind the scenes and all the people as a part of Risen Esports for making this happen. We want to make sure we say thank you guys to the community for making this an event. It was a great game. I had a pleasure casting alongside my friends, and I want to say thank you guys so much for being here. Have a great rest of your evening, a very safe weekend, and a great time on the Rift. We'll see you next time.